Hey board gamers, how's it going? It's Mike Cassie here with a Weirdwood Manor board game vlog, and welcome to another episode. And in this episode, we got a lot to cover. I've been working hard on fleshing out the designs for the guys to do a second round of pitch meetings and hopefully find the final design. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so for these pitch sessions, I've got 3 design ideas that I'm going to show the guys. 2 of those ideas are ones we saw in the previous pitch sessions, and I've got 1 new idea. So what are those 3 ideas? The first idea is called The Lords of Weirdwood, and it's worth noting that all these titles are just placeholder titles for now. So, Lords of Weirdwood, what's it about? It's a competitive game that sees players attempting to reconstruct Weirdwood Manor, which has fallen to ruin after the death of the last Lord of the Manor. Players will journey through the ruins, scoring points by clearing out rubble and building new rooms and staffing those with characters they'll recruit, and all the while battling evil clockwork scarabs who have infested the manor. Whichever player scores the most points will ultimately be crowned the new lord of the manor. The second idea also comes from the previous pitch sessions, and it's entitled The Shifting Bacropolis. The Shifting Bacropolis is a semi-cooperative game which sees you and your companions battling an evil Harrowwright monster in the Bacropolis, which is a magical map of different places interconnected by different paths. The Harrowwright will travel through the Bacropolis, blighting it and upsetting the balance within, which will cause 3 different rings to rotate, breaking, changing, and rearranging the paths between the locations. Amongst this chaos, the players must try to track down this Harrowwright and defeat him in order to win the game. The third idea is called Attack on the Manor, and it's kind of a new idea. If you've watched the previous couple episodes, you've seen me working on basically some design around that, but it is also kind of a riff on the previous idea I just described, the Shifting Bacropolis. So what's it about? It's a competitive game, which could potentially be cooperative or even semi-cooperative, where players are attempting to defeat an evil Fey monster and his clockwork scarab minions from overrunning Weirdwood Manor and killing its ruler, Lady Weirdwood. Players will pursue and battle the Fey monster and scarabs from room to room within the manor, all the while having to deal with the ever-shifting nature of the manor, because as time passes in the game, 2 corridor rings will constantly shift, altering the pathways from room to room. Okay, so those are 3 ideas I pulled together. Now I've got to figure out how do I present those to the guys in a way that's really clear and easy to understand. Well, firstly, I've come up with a rule set for each of them, and we'll put links to those down below, so if you want to dive into those rules and see the details on any of these 3 ideas, you can. But I've also got to figure out for these pitch meetings, I don't have the ability to go through an entire rule set. I got to present it to the guys, and I have to do it virtually, partly because of COVID and partly because the team is spread across the country. So I got to figure that out. Well, in about a couple hours, I'm going to be presenting the 3 design ideas to the guys, to Paul and the group. And I'm actually going to be presenting it to a fairly large group of people in a virtual meeting. Probably be about 10 or a dozen people on the call, and the idea here is to get a lot of people within Paul's company, within Wasabi, to get to look at these game ideas so we can have a large discussion and get lots of opinions about what people are liking, what they're not, and what's working and what's not working. And in doing that, I was trying to figure out the best way to present this to everybody. So it's going to be a virtual meeting. I've got obviously the games are all designed. I've got my initial rule sets that hopefully you've had a chance to look at already. And I was trying to figure out how to present this to the guys. And at first I thought I could just kind of talk through each of the games, kind of like you would if you're teaching a game to somebody. It's something that we're all used to doing. If you're an avid board gamer who's been playing a lot of board games, you're used to teaching a game to people, and maybe you're pretty good at it. I think I am. But then I realized it's a lot different when you have the physical game in front of you to do that versus just having some diagrams and text on a screen. So what I decided to do for this presentation coming up in a couple hours is basically make a PowerPoint for each game. And the PowerPoints that I've made basically are showing the diagrams that I created as part of the rules set and game design documents. And I'm just going to walk the team through the designs by looking at these diagrams and by highlighting different aspects of the design. And the reason why I think this is going to work well, at least from my perspective, is there's two things I want to do in this meeting. I want to make certain that I touch on all the important design factors in the actual game designs, so I don't want to forget anything. And then I want to kind of roll through those in an order that feels most natural and is the easiest for people to understand. And so the reason why I did the PowerPoints here is basically I can kind of figure out that sequence of things I want to talk about. So it's really, for me, it's just a prompt that I'm going to use to make certain that I stay on point as I talk through the ideas with everybody. So I think it'll work well. Just doing some final practice, making certain everything's working, and yeah, gonna jump into the meeting in a couple hours, roll through these, and then we'll see what the reaction's like. And I'll get back to you with that when that happens. Okay, so my efforts putting together a keynote and spending some time practicing, I think really paid off. So we had our virtual meeting with the guys, and we had more people on the call, which was really great to get more feedback. And I ran through each of those keynotes describing how the game works and how the mechanics work, and we had some really great discussion. The guys had a lot of great points, a lot of great questions, and they even took some time to go and look at the rule sets after the fact and kind of read some of those and basically ponder this a bit more. And with all that done, after the virtual pitch sessions, we've finally settled on a winner. All right, what is the winner? I'd like a drum roll, please. Again, there's nobody here but me. There is no drum roll, please. All right, the winner is Attack on the Manor. All right, so Attack on the Manor was the winner. That was the sort of new idea that was based on the Shifting Acropolis, and I think across the board that was a big standout for everybody. So the question is, why Attack on the Manor over those other two ideas? Reason number one is theme. And theme specific to the idea of having the corridors in the manor rotate as time passes in the game. So I've built in a mechanic where as the players take actions in the game, those actions take time, and that moves these corridors. We're gonna have a corridor that represents basically minutes turning through the course of the day, and then when that goes all the way around, we'll have a corridor that represents days, and the day will turn from one day to the next. And why that's important is that in the Weirdwood lore, the actual manor has this mechanic where as players move from room to room within the manor, where they end up or the rooms that are accessible really depends on how long they take to actually go through the corridors. So we felt that the design for Attack of the Manor really kind of represented this lore concept really cool in terms of a mechanical concept for the game. The second reason was variety and variability. So this particular design has some really great variety and variability in a couple respects. Firstly, we're going to have all of these different rooms on the board that players are going to travel to, and hopefully we'll have a lot of those different rooms that maybe can get swapped out from game to game, and their position on the board can get randomized at the start of the games, so that can always keep the manor feeling like a fresh new experience. The other thing that I thought about was this idea of having a monster attack the manor. Why couldn't there be more than one monster? So hopefully we're going to have design where maybe we'll have 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 monsters, and maybe players can choose the monster they want to battle against at the start of each game. The third reason had to do with the idea of a competitive game versus a cooperative or even a semi-cooperative game. So the third idea, Attack of the Manor, I've designed it initially as primarily a competitive game, but I'd highlighted to the guys that it could be a semi-cooperative game or potentially a cooperative game. It really kind of mechanically lends itself to going down any of those roads, whereas the other two ideas, not so much. So the door is open to us for whether or not we want to make it competitive, cooperative, or semi, or could it possibly even play all those different ways. It's still to be determined, but we feel we've got some more discussion on that front, and we have some options as we sort of explore and refine the design. And then the last reason was kind of how iconic Weirdwood Manor is. I mean, that's our universe, Weirdwood Manor. And Weirdwood Manor is at the heart of our stories and the lore and everything that happens. And so at the end of the day, it just felt like the perfect fit to be doing our first board game about and in Weirdwood Manor. So, as I mentioned earlier, if you want to explore this particular idea in more detail, or any of the 3 ideas, we've got links down below to each of the rule sets for them, so you can read through them and kind of get into the nitty-gritty, and if you got any thoughts about them, please share them with me. Okay, so what's next? We now got a game, design, picked, not finalized, but a direction that we can start to basically work with and build out. So what do we got to do? Well, in order to test it and see if this thing really works, I got to start building stuff. That means we're going to start prototyping. I'm going to start prototyping parts of the game, and we're going to try and get it down the table in front of myself and other players and start to play the darn thing and see, does this thing actually work? So I hope you'll join me for that next episode. And until then, keep board gaming.